Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Future CX Birmingham. Great to have you all here today for the very first instalment of this event here in our hometown of Birmingham. We've put together an event today full of some of the biggest brands, the most inspiring speakers, some of the coolest technology to hopefully leave you going away from here with bags of ideas and inspiration to apply back in the office tomorrow, or this afternoon if you are super committed and going back to the office. Around 6 months ago, we were looking for an event that really focused on the themes of online engagement, online marketing, and we couldn't find one. So we went and we created our own, the first of which took place at the Shard back in December. We've now brought this to our hometown of Birmingham, and we'll be taking it on a bit of a roadshow around the UK and Europe over the next few months. A lot of the brands that we've got speaking this morning, either we currently work with or we previously worked with, so it's great to have them all here today, and I'm sure there'll be bags of insight and ideas and value for you to go away with. The themes of today are building those amazing online customer experiences, creating that marketing that really cuts through all of that white noise that is out there online today. And hopefully along the way you'll pick up some behind-the-scenes secrets, some best practices, and hear a few compelling and funny stories to take away. Now, I could have started with a very predictable fact about Birmingham having more canals than Venice. Given our setting, but I thought that would be a bit of an easy one to go with. So I thought it would be much more interesting before we take a trip into the future and explore the future of online customer experience and technology to actually go 200 years into the past and to have a quick chat for 2 minutes about these two gentlemen on your screen at the moment. So imagine we're back in the early 1700s in Birmingham. It probably didn't quite look like it does at the minute, but imagine we're there anyway. At that time, Birmingham was at the forefront of worldwide developments in terms of science and technology. It was known as the period of Midlands Enlightenment, and the theme then was a real cultural transformation towards free thinking. These two gentlemen on your screen that you may or may not recognise are James Watt and Matthew Bolton. They were some of the leading scientists, technologists and businessmen of the time. They also hung around with some quite cool people. So there was a guy called Erasmus Darwin, was also in their kind of group of friends, who was the grandfather of Charles Darwin. So some real kind of forward-thinking people. Now, what these two guys did, and the most notable invention that really did form the catalyst of the whole industrial revolution, was the development of the industrial steam engine. And now it's known and accepted that we're in the fourth industrial revolution, which builds closely on the third industrial revolution, which was all about home computing and the digital world. The fourth industrial revolution is all about communication and connectivity. So two themes that we'll be hearing about a lot during the course of today. The fourth industrial revolution is known to connect billions around the world via the web. It's also going to really drive business efficiency. It's also predicted to play a huge part in resolving global conflicts and playing a huge part in forming or taking part in the rescue of the natural world. So some really big high hopes hanging on the fourth industrial revolution. And we'll be looking at some of the technology and some of the themes that are going to underpin that during the course of the next few hours. Before we get started, I'd like to thank our two event partners this morning. So we've got Comms 2.0. So Darren is here somewhere. If you give us a wave, Darren. Darren's at the back. There you go. So we've worked with Darren and the guys at Comms 2.0 for a number of years now. So they're one of the leading public sector consultancies, think tanks, trainers. We do a lot of research with these guys. Basically, if you work in public sector comms or citizen engagement, Darren's the guy you need to speak to. He'll be around today, so please do have a chat with Darren. And we also work with the UK Contact Centre Forum, another key partner of ours. So Trevor's also here somewhere. Trevor, give us a wave. Trevor's outside. Comfort break for Trevor already. And yeah, so Trevor we've worked with for a number of years, and we put on a number of events with the UK Contact Centre Forum around the UK, mainly around the themes of contact centre engagement, social media, marketing, and Trevor's events really do deliver lots and lots of value for his members. So he'll be floating around somewhere. He's got a nice embroidered shirt, so you'll spot him nice and easily. So just a quick look at the agenda for this morning. We've got myself doing the introduction for the next 15 minutes or so, and then first up we have GIFGAF speaking at 10 o'clock. They're going to be talking about how to leverage and manage a social community around TV. Following on from that, we're switching gears to the public sector and having a look at some of the best examples of public sector customer experience from one of the biggest brands in the world, Microsoft. Just before the coffee break at 11, we'll then be hearing from Loughborough University, who are going to be talking about how to really make campaigns that fly. So using techniques such as advocacy, authenticity, and personalisation. And then we'll have our first coffee break at 11 o'clock. I did find out this morning, actually, there is a fire test scheduled for 11 o'clock. So just to forewarn you, if the ceiling lights start flashing and you hear a short audio clip, don't run for the fire exit just yet. That is pre-planned, but we'll try and finish just before 11 o'clock so it doesn't disturb Loughborough University, who are on just before. If we do hear a fire alarm after that, it's the real thing. But thankfully, we've got plenty of canals and water near to us, so we should be nice and safe. After the coffee break, we're then going to be doing some incredible thinking with one of the UK's leading performance coaches. We'll then be taking a look at LinkedIn and what their kind of wealth of data is telling them in terms of what the winning marketing strategies will be for 2019. Then we'll be having a look at a really high-profile project from the digital policing portfolio and a piece of work they're undertaking nationally towards making social media a contact channel for the police. And then finally, we'll be returning back to a local brand, West Midlands Trains, who are going to be talking about how to build and manage a leading online presence across a number of different channels. Then we'll have our founder and CTO, Ben Nimmo, who will be rounding things off just before 1 o'clock, before some lunch and networking. We've got the room for as long as we need today, so if you do want to kind of hang around and don't feel that compelling urge to go back to the office, then we've got plenty of time to do that today. So I'd like to kick off for the next 10 minutes or so with a quote. And that quote is that people don't always remember what you say or even what you do, but they always remember how you made them feel. And the first time I heard this quote, and it's quite an old quote, it goes back to the 1960s, I believe. And I think, whether we accept it or whether we're aware of it or not, we're all driven, all of our behaviours and decisions are driven by emotion. And there's a real focus on this theme now by leading brands and using emotion as part, a key element of their customer experience and marketing. We're going to explore some of those themes today, and you'll see that theme of emotion, a bit of a golden thread running through a lot of our presentations this morning. And I think, we can all relate to the fact that whenever we have an interaction with a brand, it's not the transactional element of that interaction that stays with us, but the emotional context around it that stays with us and drives a lot of our decisions and our behaviours going forward. So if we look at how this maps to the online customer experience landscape in 2018, it is a constantly shifting landscape. New apps, trends, technologies, regulations coming out at an almost kind of monthly frequency now. We've got the digital economy, which has been pretty much reset and unbalanced, with the power now being in the hand of the consumer and that small device that we carry in the palm of our hand for kind of every waking hour of the day. I think the latest stats from Ofcom said that we now spend over 3 hours per day on our mobile phones. I think UK adults are usually on their phone within 5 minutes of waking up, and it's usually the last thing they do before they go to bed. So that thing in the palm of your hand really is a key kind of communication device that we'll be looking at this morning. Consumers are also continuing to adopt technology at a much faster rate of change than brands. So brands are really kind of racing to keep up with those new trends and those new technologies being adopted by consumers. And pretty much Globalisation, commoditisation have driven down the barriers to entry now. So there are increased competition for all those private sector brands out there. All it takes is one bad interaction, one case of dropping the ball, and your long-standing customer may well be off to your closest competitor down the road. And as I mentioned, a lot of the biggest think tanks and consultancies are exploring this theme of emotion more and more. Towards the back end of last year, Forrester found that when customers feel valued, 87% of those go on to become advocates, and 74% will remain with your brand. So again, a real emphasis on making those kind of one-to-one customer interactions really powerful and really memorable. The Harvard Business Review found that 95% of purchase-making decisions are also driven subconsciously by emotion. So again, a real kind of emphasis on getting that first initial contact right and then keeping that going throughout the customer journey. We also conducted our own independent piece of research. You can find a copy of that guidebook in the bags that you've been given this morning. So we explored hundreds of brands, leading brands across the UK and Europe. And we identified there was a real emphasis on these brands around the themes of emotion management forming a key part of their online engagement strategy in 2019. Some of the interesting emotional triggers that came out of that these brands were really kind of focusing on are enabling their customers to have confidence in them as a supplier when they interact with them, ensuring that interactions are really simple and friction-free, and also making a customer feel safe and secure when they are interacting with your brand. And these really do link back to those kind of key fundamental emotions that we're all driven by, that we'll be exploring throughout the course of this morning. But why does any of this matter? Well, if we accept that the core premise of customer experience is that relationships and experiences do matter to the point of changing behaviours, you can then create powerful experiences and inspire those positive emotions with your customers. And the payback for organisations, be that public or private sector, is then to be able to influence behaviours at scale. Those behaviours might be to turn your social media followers or your website visitors into new customers. It might be to turn your most satisfied customers into public advocates and leave you a glowing review on TripAdvisor, Trustpilot, Google Reviews, whatever it might be. And we know how important review sites are in this day and age. Or it might just be to encourage those that matter or certain pockets of your audience to see online as a great way to speak to you. But obviously you first need to get that amazing customer experience or that amazing piece of marketing right. And I think it's brands and organisations now understand that whether you're in comms, marketing or customer service, everyone has a role to play within that customer experience process, be that the right upfront initial marketing or comms campaign or that customer service campaign towards retaining that customer for a long period of time. And the brands that are really doing this well in 2019 and have been doing so for the last year or so, you can see some of those on the screen at the moment. So digital winners in 2018 are very much experience and relationship led, but with a deep understanding and human focus around the psychology of what drives us as human beings. So Airbnb, these guys have been able to create a global social community to deliver fast, affordable, last-minute accommodation. Spotify and Pinterest, so these guys offer really highly personalised ways of discovering and using their services. And of course, people like Google Maps that I'm sure many of us use day in, day out to get from A to B. And to be honest, any app that can tell me my favourite pub is closed before I get there and divert me to another one can't be a bad thing. So this leads us through to what we're doing at Orlo at the moment. Some of you may remember us as Social Sign-In. We rebranded back in September of last year. And the reason for doing that is that we started to see a bit of a kind of a sea change in terms of organisations wanted to manage all of their digital touch points in a much more holistic and joined up fashion. So rather than having 10 different tabs open across the top of your screen with 10 different apps to manage 10 different communication channels, the benefits of joining all of these up mean you can drive huge internal efficiencies for the organisation and lots of customer-centric data. But it also means that from a customer point of view, you have a really seamless, efficient, high-value experience. You can see a few of the brands that we work with on the screen at the moment. We work with hundreds and hundreds of global brands, tens of thousands of users across these organisations. And at Orlo, we're all about helping organisations create amazing online experiences and harness that real potential of emotional connection and then using that to influence behaviour. We try and practice what we preach as well around customer centricity. And a lot of the same tech that you'll see spoken about or shown on the stage today is what we use to support our own customers. We're really proud to say that we have a response time in terms of customer service of less than 2 minutes. This helps us to drive renewal rates of 93, 94%, which is fantastic. But even cooler than that is the fact that over 85% of our customers that renew with us for 2, 3, 4 years and beyond actually go on to invest more in our solutions in years 2 and 3. So to us, that's really cool because that means they're getting real kind of sustainable ROI and impact from our technologies.